The arena fell silent as the massive Thraxian champion stepped into the crystalline combat ring. Korvax stood 12 feet tall, his obsidian exoskeleton gleaming under the artificial suns of the Galactic Combat League's most prestigious tournament. 4 arms, each ending in razor-sharp claws, flexed with practiced menace. His mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his species. For 7 cycles, no challenger had lasted more than 30 seconds against him. The betting pools had grown so lopsided that most bookmakers refused to take wagers on his matches anymore. Today's opponent, however, had generated unusual interest, not because anyone believed they could win, but because of what they were. A human. Ambassador Zethka of the Centaurian Federation leaned forward in the VIP viewing deck, her scales rippling with barely contained laughter. "The humans must be even more desperate for recognition than we thought," she whispered to her aide. "Sending one of their fragile bipeds against Korvax? It's not combat, it's suicide." The human emerged from the opposite entrance and a collective gasp echoed through the stadium. Where every other species sent their largest, most armored warriors, humanity had chosen a female who barely reached 6 feet in height. She wore simple combat attire, no powered exoskeleton, no energy shields, no cybernetic enhancements that other species relied upon. Just synthetic fabric and determination. Her name was Sarah Chen, a former mixed martial arts champion from Earth who had volunteered for what most considered a suicide mission. The human diplomatic corps had argued for months about whether to accept the challenge, knowing that defeat would further cement humanity's reputation as the galaxy's newest and weakest members. The arena's announcer, a floating crystalline entity, began the traditional pre-combat ritual. By the ancient laws of trial by combat, this match will determine the Galactic Federation's stance on humanity's petition for advanced technology sharing. Victory grants their request. Defeat, the crystal pulsed ominously, ensures their continued status as a provisional member species. Sarah rolled her shoulders, feeling the familiar pre-fight tension. She had studied hours of footage of Korvax's previous matches. He was incredibly strong, his exoskeleton nearly impenetrable, and his reaction time impressive by galactic standards. But as she watched him now, she noticed something her analysis had prepared her for. He moved like someone who had never faced a real threat. The ceremonial bell began its deep, resonant chime that would last exactly 5 seconds. Tradition demanded that combatants wait for its completion before engaging. Every previous challenger had honored this custom, using the time to adopt defensive postures or activate their technological aids. Sarah exploded into motion before the first note finished resonating. Her body moved with a fluidity that no other species in attendance had ever witnessed. While Korvax was still processing the unexpected violation of protocol, Sarah had already covered half the distance between them. Her first strike landed exactly where her analysis had identified the weakest point in his exoskeleton, the joint between his torso and lower left arm. The impact sent shockwaves through the arena. Korvax's mandibles opened in a shriek of surprise as his arm went numb, but Sarah wasn't finished. Her second strike hammered into the side of his knee joint before he could even begin to lower his guard. The third caught him in what passed for a solar plexus among Thraxians. The fourth and fifth strikes landed in a blur of motion that even the arena's high-speed cameras struggled to track. By the time the ceremonial bell finished its 5-second chime, Korvax was on his back, 3 of his 4 arms useless, gasping for breath through spiracles that had never before been forced to work so hard. The stadium erupted in chaos. 10,000 voices from dozens of species shouted in confusion, outrage, and, from the human section, wild celebration. Several ambassadors were on their feet, demanding to know how their champion had been defeated before the match had technically begun. Sarah stood over her opponent, not in triumph, but with the careful attention of a professional checking on a sparring partner. "You're going to be fine," she said in basic galactic standard, though she doubted Korvax could understand her through his disorientation. "Nothing's broken, just disrupted nerve clusters. You'll recover full function in about 10 minutes. The referee, a species known for their impartiality, floated down to examine Korvax. After a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, it announced, "The Thraxian champion is unable to continue. Victory to the human challenger." Ambassador Zethka found herself staring at the human female with new eyes. "Impossible," she breathed. "No species moves that fast. Those strikes came faster than our sensors could track." Her aide, a younger Centaurian with access to real-time data analysis, leaned close. "Ambassador, I've been reviewing the combat footage. The human didn't violate any actual rules. The ceremonial period is for respect, not mandatory waiting. And her speed. It's not enhanced by technology. It's biological." In the arena below, Sarah was helping Korvax to his feet, supporting his massive frame despite weighing a fraction of his mass. The crowd watched in stunned silence as she spoke quietly to him, and something like respect passed between the two warriors. Later, in the diplomatic quarters, the human delegation would learn that their victory had accomplished more than securing technology-sharing agreements. Word spread quickly through the galaxy of a species that could move faster than most others could think, that showed mercy to defeated opponents, and that understood warfare as more than mere application of force. But for now, Sarah Chen stood in the center of the arena, not as a conqueror, but as a representative of a species that had just announced itself to the galaxy in a language everyone understood. The age of underestimating humanity was over before most species even realized it had begun.